Never forgive these 5 betrayals in relationships. Did you know that psychologists estimate nearly 90% of our most intense emotional pain doesn't come from accidents, illness, or disasters, but from other people? Betrayal, humiliation, manipulation. These wounds cut deeper than almost anything else. Marcus Aurelius, who endured conspiracies, lies, and treachery as emperor, once wrote, "Don't allow yourself to be made a slave to anyone." He knew what modern science confirms. The most dangerous chains are not iron, but the emotional ties that bind us to people who disrespect our dignity. So let me ask you, have you ever been told to just forgive and move on? Maybe after someone broke your trust in a way that shattered your sense of safety. Everyone around you said forgiveness was noble, that letting go was the only path to healing. But deep inside, something resisted. You couldn't shake the feeling that forgiving this act wasn't wisdom, it was self-destruction. And maybe that instinct was right. Because here's the truth. Forgiveness is a virtue, yes, but not all betrayals are created equal. Some wounds cut so deep, they don't just harm the relationship, they corrode the very foundation of your self-respect. Forgiving those isn't compassion, it's permission for further harm. Today, we're going to uncover the 5 types of betrayal you should never forgive in relationships. Each one reveals a character flaw so fundamental, so corrosive, that to overlook it would be to trade away your dignity for the illusion of peace. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll not only reveal all 5, but I'll also show you the Stoic way to build unbreakable boundaries, so you never again confuse toxic forgiveness with true strength. Let's dive into betrayal number 1. Betrayal number 1, deliberate public humiliation. Imagine this. You share your deepest vulnerability with someone, something you rarely admit, even to yourself. You trust them. You believe they'll guard it like treasure. And then one day, in front of others, they use that very vulnerability as a weapon. They laugh, they expose, they cut you down, not by accident, but with surgical intent. That is deliberate public humiliation, and it is a betrayal you should never forgive. This isn't a slip of the tongue. It's not someone losing their temper. It's calculated cruelty. It's the act of taking your sacred trust and turning it into ammunition for their own satisfaction or advantage. Let me give you a real-world story. Maria, a professional consultant, confided in her partner about her lifelong struggle with anxiety, especially when presenting in front of large groups. She trusted him with this truth during a quiet night, believing he would protect it. Months later, at his company's holiday party, they got into an argument, and in front of his colleagues, people whose respect was essential to her career, he mocked her panic attacks.
He laughed, saying she could barely function in the real world. The room fell silent. Maria's heart shattered. Now, here's the thing. The wound wasn't just the embarrassment. It was the realization that the man she loved had weaponized her deepest fear, that he had chosen cruelty over care. And once someone shows you they're capable of that, believe them. Why is this so devastating? 3 reasons. First, it reveals they're willing to sacrifice your long-term well-being for a moment of emotional power. Second, it shows they have no protective instinct toward you. Instead of shielding your vulnerabilities, they exploit them. And third, it tells you they see your trust not as a gift, but as leverage. Epictetus warned, it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. But here's the twist. When someone humiliates you publicly, they shape the opinions of others about you. They stain your reputation, not just your inner peace. That attack on dignity isn't something you can simply meditate away. It leaves scars that ripple through your career, your friendships, and your sense of self. And the gaslighting that often follows makes it worse. They'll say, "I was just joking. You're too sensitive. Don't take it so seriously." Suddenly, you're questioning whether your pain is even valid. That's not reconciliation. That's psychological warfare. The Stoics believed dignity was one of the few things truly within your control, but only if you protect it with absolute boundaries. When someone tramples on it deliberately, forgiving them isn't noble. It's teaching them you'll accept being used as entertainment. So here's your actionable step. Set non-negotiable boundaries around public respect. Let your partner, your friends, your colleagues know mockery of your private vulnerabilities is sacred territory. Once violated, trust is gone. Period. If you've ever been humiliated in public by someone you trusted, I want you to pause right now and remind yourself, your dignity is not a bargaining chip. It is the foundation of every healthy relationship. But humiliation, as painful as it is, attacks your external standing, how others see you. The next betrayal we need to discuss cuts even deeper. It doesn't just rob you of reputation, it robs you of safety itself. Betrayal number 2, financial betrayal and theft. Let's be real. Money is more than numbers in a bank account. It's security, it's freedom, it's the foundation of future dreams, your kids' education, your retirement, your sense that tomorrow is safe. So when someone close to you steals from you, it's not just financial, it's existential. This isn't about ordinary money troubles. It's not about a couple disagreeing on whether to splurge on a vacation. Financial betrayal is deliberate deception, stealing funds, gambling away shared savings, forging signatures, or hiding debts in your name. Tom's story illustrates this.
Over 18 months, his wife secretly drained $30,000 from their children's college fund to feed a gambling addiction. She forged his signature on bank documents. She created elaborate lies about where the money went. And when Tom confronted her with evidence, she didn't apologize. She got angry. She minimized it as borrowing. She even tried to make him feel guilty for not supporting her stress. Think about that. Not only did she steal their children's future, she twisted the knife by blaming the victim. Financial betrayal reveals character flaws that apologies cannot erase. It shows someone will sacrifice your shared future for their immediate desires. It shows they're capable of sustained deception, lying to your face while planning vacations and retirement with you. Marcus Aurelius taught that justice was one of the cardinal virtues. Stealing from someone you love violates that virtue at its core. It's not just unjust, it's inhuman. And the damage isn't limited to your wallet. Financial betrayal contaminates your ability to trust again. Suddenly, every purchase feels suspicious. Every financial conversation carries doubt. You live in a constant state of hypervigilance, wondering what else is being hidden. So how do you protect yourself? Here's your actionable step. Treat financial trust as equal to emotional trust. If someone has lied about money, hidden debts, or stolen from you, recognize it for what it is, a revelation of character. Don't rationalize it as stress or mistake. People reveal their values when they think they won't be caught. If you've ever experienced financial betrayal, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Not to relive the pain, but to help others recognize the warning signs. Because sometimes hearing someone else's story is the wake-up call that saves another person years of deception. Humiliation attacks your dignity. Financial betrayal attacks your safety. But the next betrayal, the one we'll explore in Part 2, it attacks something even more fundamental. It targets your mind itself. It's a form of manipulation so insidious that it can make you doubt your own sanity. And once that happens, everything else in your life becomes vulnerable. So stay with me, because next I'll reveal the cruelest betrayal of all: systematic gaslighting and reality distortion.
This one is not only dangerous to your relationships, but to your very ability to trust yourself. Now, let's move to betrayal number 3, perhaps the cruelest of them all. Because humiliation can be recovered from, money can eventually be rebuilt, but when someone makes you question your own mind, that damage runs deep. Betrayal number 3, systematic gaslighting and reality distortion. Have you ever felt like you were losing your grip on reality? Not because you were, but because someone else wanted you to believe it? That is the essence of gaslighting, and it is psychological warfare. Here's what it looks like. At first, it's small. They deny a promise they clearly made.
They claim you misheard a conversation. They say you're too sensitive when you call them out. Then it escalates. They start moving your belongings and insisting you misplaced them. They suggest your friends are worried about your memory. They rewrite history, turning arguments where they were cruel into stories where you were irrational. Over time, the strategy works. You start second-guessing yourself. You wonder, did I actually remember that wrong? Am I imagining things? And slowly, you stop trusting your own perceptions. That is the goal of gaslighting, to make you dependent on someone else to tell you what's real. Jake did this to Sarah for 18 months. He'd deny conversations, insist she was confused, even rearrange her belongings to prove she was forgetful. Eventually, Sarah began journaling just to keep track of reality. She would call friends to confirm things she knew had happened. By the end, she wasn't the same woman. The confident, decisive person her friends admired had become hesitant, anxious, and unsure of her own mind. And here's the terrifying part. Jake's mask never slipped. To outsiders, he looked like a supportive partner, concerned about Sarah's memory. He positioned himself as the stable one while she unraveled under his manipulation. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But gaslighting weaponizes this principle. It makes your imagination the battlefield. It forces you to doubt not just others, but yourself. From a psychological perspective, gaslighting is classified as a form of coercive control. Studies show it erodes autonomy, creates dependency, and leads to symptoms similar to PTSD, hypervigilance, self-doubt, anxiety, and depression. Victims often struggle long after the relationship ends, unable to trust their instincts or memory. And when you confront the gaslighter, they'll double down. They'll say, "You're paranoid. You're making things up. Why are you always attacking me?" That's the ultimate proof. Their commitment isn't to truth, but to control. Why can this never be forgiven? Because someone who deliberately wages war on your mind has revealed a character so dangerous that reconciliation isn't healing, it's surrender. They don't just break trust, they break you. So what's the Stoic solution? The Stoics placed supreme value on perception, on seeing reality clearly. Epictetus said, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things." But when someone hijacks your judgments, you lose the very tool that Stoicism teaches you to rely on. Your actionable step here? Document reality. If you suspect gaslighting, keep records, texts, journals, emails. Build an anchor of truth you can return to when doubts creep in. And surround yourself with allies who affirm your reality. Do not give the gaslighter the satisfaction of isolating you.
If you've survived gaslighting, I want you to comment below with the phrase, "My reality stands." Your voice will help others reclaim their truth. But gaslighting, as destructive as it is, usually happens behind closed doors. The next betrayal we need to confront is one that rips open not just your relationship, but your entire support system. Betrayal number 4. Infidelity with someone close to you. Infidelity is painful in any form, but when it involves someone in your inner circle, a friend, a sibling, a trusted confidant, the pain doubles. It's not just the loss of trust in your partner, it's the loss of trust in your community. Think about it. These are the people you confide in, the people you turn to when your relationship is struggling, and all the while, they're the very ones conspiring against you. It's not a momentary lapse. It's an ongoing deception that requires two people you love to coordinate their lies day after day. Lisa's story illustrates this horror. After her father's death, she planned a family vacation, hoping to heal. What she didn't know was that her husband and her younger sister had been having an affair for 8 months. At family dinners, her sister would give her marriage advice about the very man she was secretly sleeping with. Her husband would kiss her goodnight, then text her sister from the next room. When she found out, it wasn't just the betrayal of her marriage, it was the collapse of her entire family trust. Her support system had been weaponized against her. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." But infidelity with someone close is not truth. It's conspiracy. It reveals a depth of cruelty that words can barely capture. Because they had options, they could have cheated with strangers. Instead, they chose the path that would cause maximum devastation. That choice reveals who they truly are. Psychologists note that betrayal trauma in cases of familial infidelity often leads to long-term issues with trust, intimacy, and even identity. Victims don't just lose partners, they lose families, friends, and sometimes entire social networks. So what do? The Stoic path is clear. Do not excuse cruelty. Forgiving this isn't compassion, it's an invitation for deeper wounds. Seneca warned, "You should not consider as a friend anyone who is unfaithful." And when the betrayal involves both your partner and someone close, it's not just unfaithfulness, it's treachery. Your actionable step? Cut ties with both betrayers, no matter the cost. Because rebuilding your life without them is painful, yes, but staying tethered to them is destruction. Now, betrayal of dignity, money, mind, and family, all of these are catastrophic. But there is one final betrayal we must address, and it's the most dangerous of all. Because it doesn't just attack your relationships, it attacks you, your very identity.
In Part 3, we'll uncover betrayal number 5, when someone pressures you to compromise your core values. This is the betrayal that doesn't just break your trust, it asks you to betray yourself. And once you cross that line, the damage isn't just relational, it's existential. So stay with me, because in the next section, we'll explore how to recognize when you're being pressured to abandon your principles and how to stand firm with the courage of a Stoic warrior. If this message resonates with you, hit the like button. It tells me and others that these truths matter. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next betrayal we're about to uncover may be a most important lesson you'll ever hear about protecting your soul. Betrayal number 5, forcing you to compromise core values. There's one betrayal that sits above all the others. It doesn't just attack your dignity, your safety, your trust, or even your family. It attacks your very self. Because what are you, if not the values you live by? This betrayal happens when someone pressures you, manipulates you, or coerces you into acting against your deepest principles. They want you to lie for them, cheat for them, hurt others for them, or abandon your own integrity for their gain. And once you give in, even just once, you're no longer living as your true self. You've been reshaped into something that serves them. David's story illustrates this. He and his business partner ran a successful company together. One day, his partner asked him to falsify safety inspection reports to avoid expensive repairs. At first, it sounded small, his partner said. Everyone does this. We'll lose contracts if we don't. But as David resisted, the pressure mounted. His partner accused him of being naive, threatened to end the partnership, even guilt-tripped him by saying David's rigid morals were putting both their families at financial risk. But here's the truth. This wasn't about paperwork, it was about identity. If David had said yes, he would have crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. He would have become someone who puts profit above safety, someone willing to gamble with other people's lives. His partner wasn't just asking him to bend the rules, he was asking him to betray himself. Now, pause for a moment. Has anyone ever pressured you to act against your own principles? Maybe a boss who told you to mislead a client. Maybe a partner who wanted you to lie to cover their tracks. Maybe a friend who tried to drag you into something you knew was wrong. That pressure is betrayal. Because it's not just about what they want, it's about them trying to erase the real you and replace you with someone more useful to them. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Never esteem anything as advantageous that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." To compromise your values is to destroy the very core of your character. That once you step onto that path, it becomes easier and easier to justify the next compromise, and the next, until you barely recognize yourself. Psychologists studying moral injury, a term often applied to soldiers who've been forced to act against their principles in war, describe it as one of the deepest wounds a human can suffer. It creates shame, self-hatred, and a fracture in identity that lingers for decades. That's why this betrayal is unforgivable, because the person who pressures you to compromise your values is asking you to participate in your own destruction. How do they do it? Often with manipulation. They'll appeal to loyalty. If you loved me, you'd do this. They'll appeal to necessity. We don't have a choice. They'll normalize it. Everyone cuts corners. It's naive not to. Or they'll guilt-trip you, making you feel selfish for standing firm. But behind every tactic is the same message. Your values are inconvenient. Sacrifice them for me. And here's the Stoic truth. You cannot. Because once your values are negotiable, you no longer have control over your life. You've handed it to someone else. Your actionable step? Identify your non-negotiables. Write them down. Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's loyalty. Maybe it's never harming others for personal gain. Whatever they are, decide now. These are lines I will not cross. Then, when someone tries to push you, you'll recognize it immediately. You'll know. This is not a request. It's a betrayal. If you've ever stood your ground and refused to betray your values, I want you to write in the comments, integrity first. Because that courage is what separates those who live free from those who live enslaved to others' demands. Why these 5 betrayals must never be forgiven. Let's bring it all together. Humiliation, financial theft, gaslighting, infidelity with someone close, and pressure to compromise your values. Each one attacks a different part of who you are. Public humiliation attacks your dignity. Financial betrayal attacks your safety. Gaslighting attacks your sanity. Infidelity with someone close attacks your trust and support system. And pressure to compromise your values attacks your very identity. To forgive these is not to be noble, it is to harm yourself. Because forgiveness, in its healthiest form, is about letting go of anger so you can be free. But when it comes to these betrayals, forgiveness often gets twisted into something else. Tolerating abuse, excusing cruelty, allowing manipulation. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The Stoics believed in living according to virtue, not in excusing vice.
And sometimes the most virtuous act is not reconciliation, it is separation. So what do you do if you've experienced one of these betrayals? First, stop blaming yourself. Betrayal says nothing about your worth and everything about their character. Second, set absolute boundaries. Boundaries are not suggestions.
They are requirements for access to your heart, your trust, and your life. Third, rebuild yourself with daily practices of integrity, honesty, and strength. Because every time you stand firm, you prove to yourself that your dignity is non-negotiable. Practical Stoic Blueprint. Let me give you a step-by-step Stoic framework to protect yourself moving forward. Recognize. Identify the betrayal clearly. Don't minimize it or sugarcoat it. Reflect. Ask, does this forgiveness serve virtue, or does it sacrifice my dignity? Resolve. Decide on your boundaries. Write them down. Commit. Remove. If the person refuses to change, step away. Distance is protection. Rebuild. Reclaim your confidence through Stoic practices, journaling, meditating on quotes, daily affirmations of your values. And here's the most empowering truth. You do not need revenge. You do not need their apology. You do not need them to understand. You only need to stand firm in your own dignity, and life will begin to rebuild itself around that strength. Final thought. Let's end with Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. Betrayals try to make you a slave. Slave to shame, to fear, to manipulation, to others' desires. But when you refuse to forgive the unforgivable, you are reclaiming mastery of your life. So remember this, some betrayals can be forgiven, but these 5, they cannot. Not if you want to remain whole. Not if you want to live with dignity, sanity, and strength. If you found this valuable, subscribe now, because the next lesson we're diving into will show you how to rebuild trust after betrayal without sacrificing your boundaries, and that may be the most important Stoic skill of all. And don't leave without commenting. Which of these 5 betrayals do you find hardest to set boundaries around? Your words might give someone else the clarity they need today. Because resilience is built, not born, and dignity, once lost, can always be reclaimed if you refuse to compromise it. We've walked through the 5 betrayals that should never be forgiven, but here's the challenge. What happens after betrayal? Because recognizing the unforgivable is only half the battle. The other half is learning how to rebuild your life, your trust, and your resilience when someone has already crossed those lines. Today, we'll explore how to rise from betrayal without becoming bitter, cynical, or closed off. Because here's the truth. Betrayal doesn't just break relationships, it threatens to break you. And the Stoic path is about ensuring that no matter what others do, you remain unbroken. Step 1. Reclaim your perspective. The Stoics taught that perception is the foundation of strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." When betrayal strikes, our instinct is to replay it endlessly in our minds. We look for clues we missed.
We analyze every word, every action. But this mental replay is exactly what chains us to the betrayal. You cannot heal if you're still living inside the wound. So the first step is this. Shift from, "Why did this happen to me?" to "What can I learn about myself from this?" This doesn't excuse the betrayal. It doesn't minimize it. It reclaims your power. Instead of staying the victim of someone else's choice, you become the student of your own growth. Practical exercise. Journal the betrayal in 2 columns. In column 1, write exactly what happened. In column 2, write what it revealed about your boundaries, your resilience, and your non-negotiables. This transforms the betrayal from pure loss into a lesson. Step 2. Release the need for revenge. Let's be honest. After betrayal, revenge feels good in theory. You imagine humiliating them back, exposing their lies, watching them lose what they stole from you. But here's the paradox. The more you give to revenge, the more you keep them in control of your life. Seneca said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And neuroscience agrees. Studies show that rumination on revenge keeps stress hormones elevated, keeping you stuck in anger long after the event. So what's the alternative? It's not pretending the betrayal didn't matter. It's choosing to rise so high that their actions no longer define you. You don't have to destroy them. You have to outgrow them. Practical exercise. Every time thoughts of revenge surface, redirect them into a personal victory project. Build something for yourself. Fitness, a new skill, a creative pursuit. Let your success become the loudest answer to their betrayal. Step 3. Guard your boundaries. Here's where many people falter. They cut off the betrayer, but they don't strengthen their boundaries moving forward. And so, history repeats. Boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're fences that protect the garden of your dignity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Boundaries are how you protect those colors from being stained by others' toxicity. So what do strong boundaries look like? With humiliators, make it clear that private vulnerabilities are sacred. If someone mocks you once, they lose access to your inner world. With financial deceivers, create transparency. Shared accounts mean shared accountability. If someone resists, take that resistance as a warning sign. With gaslighters, require receipts. If someone denies reality, your journal and evidence speak louder than their manipulation. With unfaithful partners or friends, demand honesty. If deception continues, you leave, no negotiation. With those who push your values, refuse politely but firmly. One no, repeated consistently, is a fortress. Practical exercise. Write down your top 3 non-negotiable boundaries. Practice saying them out loud, not aggressively, calmly, firmly, because clarity in your own voice becomes clarity in your relationships.
Step 4. Rebuild trust slowly. One of the hardest parts after betrayal is trusting again. Not just others, yourself. Victims often say, "How could I have missed the signs?" That self-blame eats away at your confidence. But remember, betrayal is not proof that you were foolish. It is proof that someone else chose deception. Your willingness to trust is not a weakness. It is a strength. What matters now is how you refine that strength. Epictetus taught, "Be discriminating about what images and ideas you permit into your mind. Extend this principle to people. Don't shut everyone out, but don't open your gates all at once either." Practical exercise. Rebuild trust like training a muscle. Start small. Share a minor vulnerability and see how someone responds. If they honor it, share a little more. If they weaponize it, even slightly, stop there. Trust is built in increments, not leaps. Step 5. Anchor yourself in virtue.
At the heart of Stoicism is one simple idea. The only true good is virtue. Betrayal shakes us because it tempts us to abandon our virtues, to become bitter, vengeful, dishonest, or cynical. But when you anchor yourself in virtue, betrayal loses its power. The Stoics named 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Ask yourself daily, am I seeing reality clearly? Wisdom? Am I facing pain with bravery? Courage? Am I acting with fairness? Justice? Am I keeping balance instead of extremes? Temperance? Practical exercise. Choose one virtue each week to practice deliberately. If it's courage, do something that scares you a little. If it's justice, make one decision each day that prioritizes fairness over convenience. These small acts reinforce your identity as someone who lives above betrayal, not under it. Step 6. Create a vision beyond the betrayal. Finally, don't let betrayal be the defining chapter of your story. It's not your ending. It's your turning point. Marcus Aurelius faced conspiracies, poisonings, and betrayals within his own family. And yet he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your betrayal isn't the wall. It's the doorway. Practical exercise. Visualize your life 5 years from now completely free of the betrayer's shadow. What does your ideal day look like? Who is in your life? What are you building? Write it out in vivid detail. That vision becomes your compass. Every time the pain resurfaces, remind yourself, I'm walking toward this future, not back into the past. Bringing it all together, betrayal is devastating. It cuts deep, but it does not have to define you. By reclaiming your perception, releasing revenge, guarding your boundaries, rebuilding trust slowly, anchoring in virtue, and creating a vision beyond betrayal, you transform pain into power. And remember, your dignity, your sanity, your trust, your values, these are not negotiable. They are sacred.
And when you live as if they are sacred, you send a message to the world. I may be betrayed, but I will never be broken. We have uncovered the 5 betrayals that must never be forgiven, and we've explored how to reclaim your strength after they happen. Now, let's go one step further, because resilience isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in the small, daily choices you make every single day. The Stoics didn't just write philosophy, they practiced it. They created habits that anchored them, no matter how chaotic the world around them became. And that's exactly what we need after betrayal. Habits that rebuild us brick by brick, so that we rise stronger than ever before. Today, I'll show you 6 daily Stoic habits that can transform betrayal into resilience. These aren't abstract ideas, they're practical steps you can apply the moment this video ends. Habit 1. The morning perspective ritual. Marcus Aurelius began every day with the same reminder. Today you will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. Why? Because expecting betrayal or disappointment doesn't make you cynical. It makes you prepared. Psychologists call this anticipatory coping. When you mentally rehearse challenges, you're less shaken when they appear. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you're ready with, "Of course," and I know how to respond. Practical exercise. Each morning, take 2 minutes to imagine the hardest challenge you might face that day, an insult, a betrayal, a broken promise. Then, decide in advance, how will I respond with dignity? This isn't negativity, it's armor. Habit 2.
The evening reflection. If mornings are for preparing, evenings are for learning. Marcus Aurelius treated his journal as a mirror, asking himself, what did I do well? What did I do poorly? What can I do differently tomorrow? When betrayal hits, the temptation is to obsess about what others did. But the Stoic path is to reflect on what you controlled. Did you set clear boundaries? Did you react with integrity? Did you protect your dignity? Practical exercise. Every night ask yourself 3 questions. What did I handle well today? What did I allow that I shouldn't have? How will I protect myself more wisely tomorrow? This habit slowly rewires your brain. Betrayal stops being a source of helplessness and becomes a source of daily growth. Habit 3. Negative visualization. This one surprises people. Seneca advised practicing premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He'd imagine losing possessions, friends, even his own life, not to depress himself, but to deepen gratitude. Why does this matter after betrayal? Because betrayal shrinks our world. It makes us obsess over what we lost. Negative visualization flips the script. By imagining deeper losses, you suddenly realize, I still have so much left. Practical exercise. Once a week, visualize a life without something you love, a job, your health, a loved one.
Then look around and notice that today you still have it. That gratitude doesn't erase betrayal, but it makes it smaller in perspective. Habit 4. Practicing the dichotomy of control. This is the heartbeat of Stoicism. Epictetus said, some things are in our control and others are not. The danger after betrayal is spending endless energy on what you cannot change, wishing they hadn't done it, wishing they would regret it, wishing the past were different. But here's the truth. You can't control the betrayer. You can only control your response. Practical exercise. Whenever you feel anger or despair rise up, pause and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, release it. If the answer is yes, act on it. Write it down if you need to. Over time, this habit frees you from wasting energy on the impossible. Habit 5. Voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practiced discomfort deliberately. They'd sleep on hard beds, walk barefoot in the cold, eat simple meals. Why? Because hardship in practice makes real hardship easier to bear. When betrayal strikes, you feel destabilized. But if you've trained yourself to face discomfort, you're less shaken. You've built inner toughness. Practical exercise. Once a week, choose one voluntary discomfort. Skip a meal. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of driving. As you do it, remind yourself, if I can handle this willingly, I can handle betrayal unwillingly. Habit 6. Living with virtue as the goal. At the core of Stoicism is virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Betrayal tempts us to abandon these, to become bitter instead of wise, fearful instead of courageous, vengeful instead of just, excessive instead of balanced. But when you make virtue your daily goal, betrayal loses its grip, because your identity no longer depends on others' actions. It depends on your own choices. Practical exercise. Each morning, choose one virtue to guide your day. For example, if it's courage, write down, "Today I will act bravely even if I feel afraid." Carry it with you. Let it guide every interaction. Story. From betrayal to mastery. Let me share a story about a man named John. After a brutal divorce caused by infidelity, he spiraled. He stopped trusting anyone, withdrew from friends, and lived in bitterness. But one day, he stumbled upon Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. He began a simple practice, writing nightly reflections. Within weeks, he noticed patterns. He wasn't angry because of his ex-wife anymore. He was angry because of his own rumination. Slowly, he added negative visualization, voluntary discomfort, and daily reminders of what was in his control. Over a year, John didn't just recover. He was stronger, calmer, and more grounded than ever. The betrayal hadn't broken him. It had been the catalyst for him to become unbreakable. Bringing it all together, daily habits may seem small, but over time, they stack. They transform betrayal from a scar into a source of strength.
Imagine practicing these 6 habits consistently. You wake up armored with perspective. You go to bed wiser through reflection. You deepen gratitude through visualization. You free yourself with the dichotomy of control. You toughen your spirit through discomfort. You anchor your life in virtue. That's not philosophy, it's resilience training. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. After betrayal, you don't need to argue with the past. You just need to live as the strongest version of yourself today. Betrayal shakes trust to its core. And here's the paradox. Human beings cannot survive without trust. Every day you trust hundreds of people without even realizing it. You trust the pilot flying your plane, the chef cooking your food, the stranger driving on the opposite side of the road. Without trust, life collapses into paranoia. But after betrayal, trust feels impossible. You think, how can I ever open up again? How do I know who deserves a second chance and who should be cut off forever? This is where philosophy and science meet, because rebuilding trust isn't just about intuition, it's about patterns, behaviors, and principles. Today, let's explore how to rebuild trust without losing wisdom, how to know when to let someone back in and when to walk away for good. The Stoic view on trust. The Stoics were not naive. They didn't preach blind trust. Seneca warned, "You must live for your neighbor if you would live for yourself, but you must also take care to choose your neighbors wisely." For the Stoics, trust wasn't about emotion, it was about virtue. Could this person demonstrate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? If yes, they could be trusted. If not, they were a danger to your soul. But modern science adds another layer. Psychologists studying trust find that it's built on 3 elements: competence, consistency, and character. Competence is the ability to do what they promise. Consistency is doing it reliably over time. Character is aligning those actions with integrity. Lose any one of those 3 and trust crumbles. When trust can be rebuilt. Not every betrayal is final. Some mistakes are forgivable, not because you're weak, but because the person shows proof of change. So, how do you know if trust can be rebuilt? Look for these 3 signs. Full ownership. They admit what they did without excuses. No, "I'm sorry, but," no blaming circumstances, just raw accountability. Repair actions. They take concrete steps to repair the damage. If it was financial betrayal, they pay it back. If it was humiliation, they publicly restore your dignity. Words mean nothing without actions. Time-tested change. They don't just apologize once, they show consistency over months or even years. Trust is rebuilt slowly, not overnight.
But he confessed immediately, provided full transparency, and over the next 3 years rebuilt their systems so such deception could never happen again. Today, she says the partnership is stronger than ever. Why? Because he demonstrated competence, consistency, and character after the failure. When trust must end. But let's be honest, many betrayals don't deserve a second chance. If you see any of these red flags, it's time to walk away. Defensiveness, they minimize the betrayal or blame you. Repetition, they promise to change but repeat the behavior. Gaslighting, They twist the story so you feel guilty for being hurt. No evidence of growth. They say, "Trust me again," without showing proof. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can show me I am wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." If the betrayer doesn't live by this principle, they're not interested in growth. They're interested in control. Example, Tom's wife, who stole from their children's college fund, didn't just make one mistake. She doubled down, got defensive, and shifted blame. That's not someone to rebuild trust with. That's someone to separate from permanently. The gradual trust ladder. Think of trust like a ladder. When someone betrays you, they fall to the ground. If they want to climb back up, they must do it step by step. Step 1, admit wrongdoing. Step 2, demonstrate accountability. Step 3, make amends. Step 4, show consistency in small things. Step 5, prove growth in larger tests. If they skip steps, don't give them access to your higher trust. Don't let apologies skip the climb. Practical exercise. Create your own trust ladder. Write down the specific steps someone would have to take to earn your trust again. This keeps you from falling into premature forgiveness.
Trusting yourself again. The hardest part after betrayal isn't trusting others. It's trusting yourself. You wonder, how did I miss the signs? How did I let this happen? That self-doubt is poison because it can paralyze you. Here's the truth. Betrayal says nothing about your intelligence. It says everything about the betrayer's deception. Even Marcus Aurelius, with all his wisdom, was betrayed repeatedly. The fact that you trusted doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The Stoic practice is to turn inward. What can I learn? How can I set stronger boundaries? Instead of saying, "I can't trust myself," say, "Now I see more clearly than before." Practical exercise. Write a letter to yourself from the perspective of your strongest, wisest self. Remind yourself that your trust is a gift and that you will give it more carefully moving forward. Learning to trust again without fear. Finally, don't let betrayal harden you into stone, because if you close off completely, the betrayer wins. They don't just steal your trust in them, they steal your trust in everyone. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you can improve." The goal is not to trust no one.
The goal is to trust better, to invest your heart in those who show virtue. Practical exercise. Re-enter trust slowly. Choose one person who has always been reliable. Share something small. Notice how they respond. Let your nervous system relearn that trust is possible and safe when placed wisely. Bringing it all together. Trust is fragile, but it is not impossible to rebuild. The key is wisdom, knowing when repair is possible and when betrayal reveals a fatal flaw. If there's ownership, repair, and time-tested change, trust can be rebuilt. If there's defensiveness, repetition, or gaslighting, walk away. Trust others slowly. Trust yourself always. Because at the end of the day, trust is not about them. It's about you deciding to live courageously again. To risk connection, because life without it is empty. Final thought. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Trust is endurable when it is anchored in virtue. Betrayal is not. That's how you know the difference. So ask yourself, who in your life has proven they deserve a place on your trust ladder, and who has shown you, through actions, that they don't? That clarity is freedom, and it's the first step toward living with resilience, calm, and strength after betrayal.
When betrayal hits, emotions flood in like a storm. Anger, grief, fear, sometimes even shame. And here's the truth. You can't stop the storm from coming, but you can choose how to sail through it. The Stoics never taught emotional suppression. They didn't say, don't feel. They said, feel fully, but don't be ruled by what you feel. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Emotional mastery isn't about being cold, it's about being free. Today, let's explore 3 of the most destructive emotions after betrayal and how to master them the Stoic way. Mastering anger. Anger is the first fire that burns after betrayal. You feel it in your chest, your jaw, your fists. You want to shout, slam doors, maybe even hurt the person who hurt you. And for a moment, it feels powerful. But here's the problem. Anger consumes more of you than it punishes them. Seneca wrote an entire book on anger, where he called it a temporary madness. He described how anger makes us say things we regret, make enemies we don't need, and damage our own dignity. So how do you control it? Delay the reaction. Seneca said, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. The moment you feel fury rise, step back. Walk. Count. Breathe. Time is the extinguisher of rage. Reframe the offense. Ask, is this within my control? If not, anger is wasted energy. If yes, channel it into decisive, calm action. Practice compassion without excuse. Recognize that people act out of ignorance, weakness, or selfishness. This doesn't excuse betrayal, but it frees you from taking it as proof of your own inadequacy.
Trusting yourself again. The hardest part after betrayal isn't trusting others. It's trusting yourself. You wonder, how did I miss the signs? How did I let this happen? That self-doubt is poison because it can paralyze you. Here's the truth. Betrayal says nothing about your intelligence. It says everything about the betrayer's deception. Even Marcus Aurelius, with all his wisdom, was betrayed repeatedly. The fact that you trusted doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The Stoic practice is to turn inward. What can I learn? How can I set stronger boundaries? Instead of saying, I can't trust myself, say, now I see more clearly than before. Practical exercise. Write a letter to yourself from the perspective of your strongest, wisest self. Remind yourself that your trust is a gift and that you will give it more carefully moving forward. Learning to trust again without fear. Finally, don't let betrayal harden you into stone, because if you close off completely, the betrayer wins. They don't just steal your trust in them, they steal your trust in everyone. Seneca wrote, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you can improve. The goal is not to trust no one.
Practical exercise. Next time anger rises, whisper to yourself, this fire will not burn me twice, because the betrayal already hurt once. Letting anger take over means letting it hurt again. Mastering grief. After the anger fades, grief takes its place. Betrayal is not just about what happened, it's about what's lost. The relationship you thought you had, the future you imagined, the trust that felt unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, do not mourn things which are not worth much, but he also acknowledged grief is natural. The Stoics didn't say, don't grieve. They said, grieve wisely. So how do you do that? Name the loss. Write down exactly what you lost. Was it the person, the dream, the trust? Naming it makes it smaller and specific instead of a vague cloud of pain. Contrast with reality. Remind yourself that what you lost was not permanent.
Everything, relationships, health, life itself, is temporary. Grief lessens when you accept impermanence. Focus on what remains. Gratitude is the antidote to grief. You may have lost trust in one person, but not in everyone. You may have lost one path, but not the ability to create another. Practical exercise. Write a letter not to the betrayer, but to the version of yourself that loved and trusted them. Thank yourself for having the courage to trust. Then release that version of yourself and commit to walking forward wiser.
Mastering fear. Fear is the shadow of betrayal. You think, what if it happens again? What if I can't trust anyone? What if I'm fooled once more? Fear shrinks your life until you live in constant suspicion. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things." Betrayal doesn't guarantee the future, but fear convinces you it does. So how do you conquer it? Face it directly. Don't run from the fear. Write it down. I fear being betrayed again. Then ask, if it happened, could I survive it? The answer is yes, because you already did once. Practice voluntary vulnerability. Slowly share small truths with trustworthy people. Let yourself see that not everyone betrays. Exposure heals fear. Anchor in virtue. Fear loses its grip when your goal is not safety, but living with courage. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Likewise, don't fear betrayal. Fear closing yourself off from love, connection, and growth. Practical exercise. Each week, deliberately do one thing that scares you in relationships. Share an opinion. Set a firm boundary. Ask for what you need. Let fear become your training ground, not your prison. The Emotional Mastery Framework. Let's bring it together. Anger says, burn everything down. Mastery says, pause, act with dignity. Grief says, life is over. Mastery says, life continues. Focus on what remains. Fear says, don't risk again. Mastery says, risk wisely, because life without trust is no life at all. And the Stoics weren't just guessing.
Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Apply the same to relationships. First define what you need, then give people the chance to prove if they can live up to it. Practical exercise. Think of trust as a savings account. Don't deposit all your trust at once. Let others make small deposits over time, keeping promises, respecting boundaries, showing consistency. If the account grows, you invest more. If it drains, you step back. Step 3. Communicate boundaries clearly. After betrayal, boundaries become your guardrails. Without them, you'll repeat the same mistakes. With them, you create clarity. For example, if someone mocked you before, tell new people, my private struggles aren't material for jokes. If someone hid finances before, say, transparency is non-negotiable for me. If someone gaslighted you before, explain, I need accountability when things go wrong. Denial isn't acceptable. Boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who belongs in your life. Practical exercise. Write down your 3 core boundaries, then practice saying them calmly out loud. Boundaries stated early prevent heartbreak later. Step 4. Test small, observe big. The Stoics were observers of human nature. They believed people reveal themselves not in speeches, but in patterns. Seneca advised, "How does he behave when fortune smiles upon him? How does he behave when hardship comes?" In rebuilding relationships, don't just listen to words, observe reactions. Do they keep small promises? Do they respect small boundaries? Do they stay steady in small conflicts? If not, they won't hold up in larger trials. Practical exercise. Create small trust tests. Lend a book. Share a minor vulnerability. See how they respond. Patterns in small things predict patterns in big things. Step 5. Balance forgiveness with wisdom. Here's where many people struggle. After betrayal, they become either too harsh, cutting everyone off, or too soft, letting anyone in with an apology. Stoicism teaches the middle path. Forgive in your heart so anger doesn't poison you, but don't reconcile unless virtue is proven. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That means letting go of bitterness, but also refusing to repeat the cycle. Practical exercise. When someone apologizes, ask yourself, do their actions align with their words? Have they demonstrated change over time? If the answer is no, you can forgive internally without letting them back into your life. Step 6. Build a circle of the wise. One of the greatest protections against betrayal is surrounding yourself with people of high character. The Stoics valued friendship not for comfort, but for growth. Epictetus said, "Seek friends who will stir your soul, not those who will soothe your weakness." So ask yourself, does this relationship challenge me to grow? Does it make me more virtuous, calmer, wiser? Or does it pull me back into chaos?
Practical exercise. Evaluate your current circle. Draw 3 columns. Strengthens me, weakens me, neutral. Place names accordingly. Then spend more time with those in the first column. Life is too short to live surrounded by people who erode your strength. Step 7. Keep yourself accountable. Here's a twist. Betrayal doesn't just come from others. Sometimes we betray ourselves by ignoring red flags, by silencing our intuition, by settling for less than we deserve. Rebuilding relationships must include rebuilding accountability to yourself. Seneca wrote, "The first step toward amendment is the recognition of error." If you've allowed betrayal in the past, reflect honestly. What signs did I miss? What standards did I compromise? This isn't blame, it's wisdom. Practical exercise. Create a self-betrayal list. Write down 3 times you ignored your own intuition. Then write what you'll do differently next time. This turns pain into prevention. Bringing it all together. The Stoic blueprint for rebuilding relationships is simple but powerful. Redefine what you seek. Virtue, not just passion. Slow down. Trust is earned gradually. Communicate boundaries early and clearly. Test small. Observe big. Forgive without forgetting wisdom. Build a circle of virtue. Hold yourself accountable. Follow this, and betrayal becomes not a life sentence, but a life lesson. You won't avoid every disappointment, but you'll filter out most of the danger before it reaches your heart. Final thought. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Likewise, waste no more time wishing others were trustworthy. Become the kind of person who demands and inspires trustworthiness in others. When you do, you won't just rebuild relationships, you'll build alliances rooted in strength, loyalty, and respect. And betrayal will become the rare exception, not the rule. When you think of betrayal, confidence isn't the first word that comes to mind. More often, betrayal leaves you doubting yourself, doubting your choices, your instincts, even your worth. You think, if I was truly wise, I would have seen it coming. If I was truly valuable, they wouldn't have done it. But here's the Stoic paradox. Betrayal can either break you, or, if you meet it with the right mindset, it can rebuild you into someone more confident, resilient, and untouchable than before. Marcus Aurelius himself endured betrayal from friends, senators, and even family. Yet he emerged not paranoid, but calm, not broken, but firm. Why? Because he learned to see betrayal not as proof of weakness, but as training for strength. Today, let's explore how betrayal can become the foundation for unshakable confidence. Lesson 1. Pain proves endurance. Confidence isn't built by avoiding pain. It's built by surviving it. Every betrayal you endure proves you can handle more than you thought. Think about it. The first time you were lied to or cheated on, it felt unbearable.
You thought, I'll never recover. And yet, here you are. Stronger, wiser, more aware. Epictetus said, difficulties show what men are. Every betrayal is a test. And passing that test, even if scarred, shows you're tougher than you believed. That realization builds confidence not in the world, but in yourself. Practical exercise. Write down 3 betrayals you've survived. Under each, list the lessons you learned. Then look at that list as proof. If I handled that, I can handle anything. Lesson 2. Boundaries are strength, not weakness. Before betrayal, many of us equate confidence with being agreeable, flexible, easygoing. But betrayal teaches us boundaries. It teaches us that saying no is not rudeness, it's power. Seneca said, "He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it." Allowing people to trample your boundaries is an invitation for betrayal. But once you learn to set limits, you radiate confidence. People can feel it. They know where the lines are, and they respect you for it, even if they don't like it. Practical exercise. Identify one area of life where your boundaries are weakest. Time, money, or emotional energy. Practice saying no once this week. Notice how the act itself builds confidence. Lesson 3. Betrayal teaches discernment. Confidence isn't about trusting everyone. It's about knowing you can discern who deserves trust. Betrayal sharpens that skill. You begin to notice red flags you once ignored. You see patterns in tone, excuses, inconsistencies. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When betrayal sharpens your thoughts, it dyes your soul with wisdom. That wisdom is confidence. Practical exercise. Recall the last time someone betrayed you. Write down the early warning signs you missed. Then create a discernment checklist to use moving forward. Each time you meet someone new, review the list. That habit turns painful experience into practical confidence. Lesson 4. Self-reliance replaces dependency. One of the hidden gifts of betrayal is that it forces you to rely on yourself. Before, you may have leaned too heavily on another person for validation, security, or identity. Betrayal strips that away, and though it hurts, it leaves you standing taller on your own. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Betrayal can become the very experience that breaks chains of dependency and proves I can stand on my own 2 feet. Practical exercise. List 3 areas of life where you once depended on someone who betrayed you. Now write what you've done, or could do, to take back control of those areas. Every step of independence is a brick of confidence. Lesson 5. You realize your value is not negotiable. When someone betrays you,
It's easy to think, I must not be good enough. But Stoicism flips the lens. Betrayal doesn't reveal your worth, it reveals their character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the worth of a man is in proportion to the objects he pursues. If someone pursues lies, deceit, or cruelty, it says everything about them and nothing about you. Recognizing this shifts the story from, I wasn't enough, to, they weren't capable. That clarity is the foundation of unshakable self-respect. Practical exercise. Stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eye, and repeat, my value is not up for negotiation. Do this daily until your subconscious begins to believe it. A story of transformation. Consider Maya, who discovered her best friend had been spreading lies about her for years. The betrayal crushed her. For months, she withdrew, questioning her worth. But eventually, she turned to Stoic practices. She journaled daily, noting what was and wasn't in her control. She listed the red flags she'd ignored. She started saying no to people who drained her. 2 years later, Maya wasn't just healed, she was radiant. Friends described her as grounded, firm, and inspiring. She hadn't become cynical, she'd become confident. The betrayal hadn't destroyed her, it had revealed her strength. Bringing it all together. Betrayal is a strange gift. It wounds you deeply, but it also hands you tools, endurance, boundaries, discernment, self-reliance, and unshakable self-worth. Most people see betrayal as the end of confidence. The Stoic sees it as the beginning. Because once you've faced the worst and survived, what else is there to fear? Final thought. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Betrayal is an outside event. Confidence is the power over your mind that no betrayal can touch. So the next time betrayal tempts you to collapse inward, remind yourself, this is not proof of my weakness. This is the training ground of my strength. And with that shift, betrayal becomes not a scar, but a badge, a reminder that you are unshakable. We've walked through the 5 betrayals you should never forgive. We've explored how to rebuild, how to master your emotions, how to trust again, and how to transform pain into confidence. Now it's time for the final, most powerful Stoic truth. Betrayal, when faced wisely, can lead to ultimate freedom. Because here's the paradox. Betrayal feels like chains. It feels like someone else has taken your dignity, your trust, your safety. But if you walk the Stoic path, betrayal becomes the very moment you cut those chains. It becomes the doorway to freedom that no one can take from you. Freedom from needing approval. The first kind of freedom betrayal gives you is freedom from needing others' approval. Before betrayal, many of us live for validation. We crave affirmation from partners, friends, colleagues. But when someone betrays you, they shatter that illusion. You realize approval is fragile. Respect can vanish in a moment.
Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Betrayal strips away this dependency. You learn to live not for their opinion, but for your own integrity. Practical exercise. Next time you feel the urge to impress someone, pause and ask, would I still choose this if no one approved? Choose what aligns with your values. That's freedom. Freedom from illusion. Betrayal also frees you from illusion. Before betrayal, you might have believed the relationship was safe, that the friend was loyal, that the business partner was honest. The betrayal was brutal, but it was also truth. Seneca said, truth is harsh. But he also said,
Truth never harms the man who seeks it. The harsh truth hurts once. Illusion hurts forever. Think about it. Which is worse? Believing for years that someone is loyal, only to discover at the end they never were? Or learning sooner, enduring the pain, and then building a life free of lies? Betrayal forces truth, and truth is the only solid ground to build on. Practical exercise. Write down one illusion you've been holding on to, about a person, a situation, or even yourself. Then write the harsh truth beneath it. That act alone is liberation. Freedom from fear. One of the greatest gifts of betrayal is this: once you've survived it, you fear it less. Fear whispers, "What if I'm betrayed? What if I'm abandoned? What if I lose everything?" But after betrayal, you realize you already lived through it. You didn't die. You're still here, stronger. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the things themselves, but from our thoughts about them." Betrayal teaches you the worst-case scenario is survivable. That knowledge makes you fearless. Practical exercise. Next time fear rises, remind yourself, "I've already lived through worse." This fear is an echo, not a prophecy. Betrayal allows you to live authentically. Before betrayal, many people hide parts of themselves to please others. They compromise values to keep peace. They accept less than they deserve. But betrayal shows you, compromise doesn't save you. Betrayal comes anyway. So you stop hiding. You stop bending. You start living as yourself, without apology. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And when your thoughts align with your true self, betrayal loses its power." Practical exercise. Choose one area of your life where you've been hiding: an opinion, a dream, a boundary. Speak it aloud this week. Watch how freeing it feels. The ultimate Stoic secret: turning betrayal into freedom. So here is the ultimate Stoic secret. Betrayal doesn't steal your freedom, it reveals it. Because what is freedom? It's living without chains, without being ruled by anger, grief, fear, or dependency. Betrayal cuts away what was false, leaving you with the only thing you can truly control: yourself. And that's the Stoic way.
Epictetus, born a slave, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by betrayal, wrote, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself can get the better of my free will." Betrayal tries to shackle you, but when you respond as the Stoics did, you discover a freedom that no one, not even the closest betrayer, can take away. The blueprint for lasting freedom. Let's put all 10 parts of this journey into one clear, lasting blueprint. Recognize the 5 betrayals never to forgive: humiliation, financial theft, gaslighting, infidelity with someone close, pressure to compromise values. Rebuild with perspective, journal, reflect, and shift focus from why me to what now. Release revenge, rise higher instead of burning lower. Guard your boundaries, your dignity is sacred territory. Rebuild trust slowly, with ownership, repair, and consistency. Master emotions, anger, grief, and fear through Stoic exercises. Redefine relationships. Seek virtue, not passion. Transform betrayal into confidence, proof of your strength, not your weakness.
See betrayal as truth and as training. Claim your freedom. Approval, illusion, fear, and compromise no longer rule you. That's how you turn betrayal, the deepest wound, into resilience, confidence, and ultimate freedom. Closing thought. Let's end with Marcus Aurelius's timeless reminder. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Betrayal is an outside event. It's painful, yes, but your response, your boundaries, your choices, your freedom, that is yours, always. So the next time betrayal threatens to break you, remember, it is not the end. It is the beginning. The beginning of your freedom, your strength, and your unshakable life. If this series has given you clarity and strength, subscribe to Stoic Insights 365. Like this video, share it with someone who needs these truths, and join us for more ancient wisdom made practical for modern resilience. Because resilience is built, not born. And with Stoicism as your guide, no betrayal can ever take your freedom again.